Today I'm surviving 100 days in Minecraft Bedrock Edition. During this journey, I built some absolutely insane structures, building a cozy cave house. But wait, as you can see, that simple cave eventually transforms into this entire village. I'm even planning to dive into some massive farms along the way. And for the grand finale, we're going to slay the Ender Dragon and finally get our hands on the Elytra. The real question is, can I pull all of this off without dying once? Let's get this adventure started. I punched some wood, crafted some sticks and a crafting table. Then I made a wooden pickaxe and started gathering stone, and right after that, I upgraded to stone tools. Let's grab this coal too. Then I started wandering around to find some food. I spotted an outpost. They were torturing an iron golem. I had to save him. I broke his cage and waited for him to help me out, but he did absolutely nothing, so I just ran away. There was a village nearby. I headed there, and my first goal was to survive the first night. Yes, first day, done. After that, I killed the iron golem and pocketed the iron. While I was looting the village, I borrowed some supplies from the leatherworker's house. Then I made a smoker and started cooking my food. Right at that moment, I saw a cat that looked exactly like my girlfriend's cat, and I chased it for minutes. I don't know why I did that. I guess I was just bored. Anyway, after that, I finally ate my first meal. I hunted a few more animals, tamed a horse, and started exploring the world. While exploring, I stumbled upon a new village. First, I took the furnaces from the blacksmith's house, and when I opened that chest, oh yeah, I found some seriously OP items. I gathered all the hay bales too, and headed away from the village. Now, it was finally time to go mining. I crafted some torches and started heading into the depths. After fighting off a zombie in full gold armor, I gathered my first pieces of coal. My main goal was to find iron, so I could craft a shield and explore the caves more safely. Anyway, I eventually found a mine shaft, crafted myself a shield, and finally started some serious mining. I fought off some mobs, and finally, I decided to make an iron pickaxe. You all know what that means. It was time to hunt for diamonds. But no rush for now. I kept mining and found an amethyst geode. I grabbed some crystals and headed out. And then, yes! After a bit more exploring, I finally found my first diamonds. A few minutes later, I stumbled upon a dungeon, but honestly, there wasn't much inside, so I went back to mining. But while I was gathering diamonds and iron, something terrible happened. Oh man, no way! How am I supposed to find that place again? Wait, I think I had the coordinates. Yeah, I can find it. Let's go!
After getting my stuff back, I continued exploring the mine. I took down a few of these guys, and then I found another dungeon, but again, there was absolutely nothing inside. I dug all the way down to the deep slate layers. My only goal was diamonds, but the first thing I found was coal. Hahaha, seriously. Anyway, after a bit more mining, I finally headed back to the surface. I wanted to build myself a base. First, I went to the village to gather some food, and then I occupied a house to smelt my ores. Once that was done, I finished my full iron set. I grabbed my supplies and started looking for a place to call home. I found an area, and instead of a flat house, I thought a cave house would look amazing here. So I gathered some wood, crafted some chests, and organized my materials. I even planted the sugar cane I found. Then I made a shovel and started clearing the area. Alright, let me tell you about the house I'm planning. First, I'm digging out a 3x2 area, but first, we need to gather materials. For this cave, we're going to need a lot of spruce wood and stone variations. So, let's start with the spruce. Oh, by the way, I made myself a spyglass. How does it look? I searched for a spruce biome, gathered the wood, and swam back to the base. The sun was setting, so I decided to call it a day and just crashed into bed.
After waking up, I spent quite a while digging out the inside of the cave. I made this area 11 by 18, and then I dug one more layer off the floor. And that's the interior layout done. I really want an aesthetic look, so let's start with the entrance. Keep in mind, I'll be making the interior even more beautiful over time, but for now, let's focus on the exterior. First, I placed logs on both corners, then added some barrels in front of them, and stripped the wood. I placed stairs on top of the barrels, and added some fences. For the upper part, I used more stairs and trapdoors. I added 2 slabs to the ends of the logs, put a barrel on top of the trapdoor, and surrounded it with slabs. Finally, I added trapdoors to the corners and finished the cave entrance. And just like that, the exterior is complete. On the inside, I broke 3 blocks and added stairs. So it's, you know, much easier to get in and out. Now, it's time for the interior, and this part is going to be super detailed. First, I made some wooden pillars to give it a reinforced look, and then, well, I ran out of materials. Hahaha. Classic. So, this is how the base looks for now. We still have a lot of materials to gather. Alright, I prepared a few materials off camera. Now, it's time to create the floor of our house. First, I'm digging 1 block into the ground. Then, I'm filling the corners with these stones, and the entire interior with stone variants. Once that's done, I'm finishing the floor by mixing smooth stone and stone bricks. Next, I crafted some chests and set up the storage area. I also broke the front section to add some regular stone for texture. And guess what? I found a dog near my base and tamed him. Just look at his face. He's so cute. Anyway, I really need a diamond axe now, because we're going to gather a ton of spruce wood. I swam across the water and gathered as much spruce as I could. Then, I headed back home to finish the missing parts of the house. Now, it's time for some fanciness. After crafting the necessary materials, I'm adding details to the wall pillars. Then, I'm starting on another section. This will be our sleeping area. Since building was starting to get a bit boring, I checked on my sugarcane and headed deep into the mines. I gathered some coal and iron, and also some deep slate, which I'll definitely need for the house. After that, I returned home, made a small addition to the entrance, and decorated the bedroom nicely. I gathered some clay for decorations and threw it into the furnace. Oh, and I also turned my bed red, much better. After that, I crafted some lanterns and finally sorted out the lighting. I gathered some leaves with shears and used the bricks I smelted to craft some flower pots. I placed those around the house to make it feel more alive. Now, it's time for the ceiling. I used stairs to smooth out the edges, then gathered some moss to mix with mossy stone and regular stone. I think the ceiling looks great now. By day 17, I finished the entrance, and honestly, it looks so much more aesthetic this way. Then, I started moving all my stuff inside. I really tried to finalize the interior. And check this out. I used this new item from the latest update, and I think it looks amazing. It totally changes the vibe. Anyway, I finished the entire interior. Well, at least for now. I placed the chests in their spots, gathered a bit more wood since I ran out, and checked on my sugarcane. Right at that moment, I had a sudden idea. Why not raid the pillager outpost? So, I headed over there and started the fight. As loot, I got everything in these chests, and some extra wood. I could definitely use this wood for the house design. As the sun was setting, I headed back home and had a solid sleep. When I woke up, I fixed a few spots I wasn't happy with, and organized my items into the chests. The only thing missing was a carpet, so I sheared as many sheep as I could, dyed the wool, and placed the carpets on the floor. Finally, the storage area was completely finished, and that's how I wrapped up the day. To speed things up, I really needed some enchantments, but since I didn't have enough XP, I decided to get them from the villagers. I needed 2 lecterns, so I gathered my sugarcane, crafted them, and headed to the village. But unfortunately, after all that effort, I just couldn't get those villagers to cooperate. The villager system in Bedrock is, well, a bit weird. Anyway, I gave up on that for now and decided to head back into the mines. I wanted that full diamond set. Plus, I needed to find a lush cave to grab some decorations for the base. I went down, gathered some coal, And after a bit of searching, I found it, a lush cave. I got everything I needed and spent minutes just mining. And man, I found a lot of diamonds. It was finally time to leave the caves. I kept this part short for you guys, so you don't get bored. Back at home, I put the ores in the furnace and decorated the cave with the plants I found. I used shears on the glowberries so they wouldn't grow too long. Now, the house looks much more natural. After that, I crafted an armor stand for my old gear. And finally, I crafted my full diamond set. Yes, we did it. Everything is going perfectly. Yes, I think it's finally time to get into animal farming. But first, let's harvest these sugar canes. For the barn, we're going to need a ton of spruce wood. Luckily, I already had some in stock. I grabbed the saplings and bone meal, started growing the trees, and began the grind. One tree down, 2 trees down, and done. After gathering enough wood, I cleared the area a bit and started laying down the foundation for the barn. Let's strip these logs too. Now, for the cows area. I fenced it off, added some log supports, and stripped those as well. I added slabs on top, so the animals can't jump out. Then, I built the barn door. For the walls, I placed pillars in the middle and stripped them. Now for the animal stalls. I wanted to create a look as if there were glass panes there. And honestly, I think it looks great. I filled the rest with fences and finished the main structure. Then, I connected the barn to my house with some paths. Finally, I worked on the roof. I made a small calculation error at first, but I fixed it and finished the barn completely. Now, all that's left is moving the animals. I grabbed some leads from the chest, caught the cows, and pulled them all the way back. And yes, now we have a barn and animals. Since I used all my wheat for bread, I couldn't breed them yet. So, I went out searching for a village. On the way, I hunted a bunch of animals. No more bread for me. We're eating meat now, baby. Meat. Anyway, after a long search, I found a village with hay bales and took every single one. On my way out, I spotted a ruined portal, so I took the opportunity to mine some obsidian. I found another village, and, well, I borrowed some seeds for our farms. Okay, I stole them. Finally, I headed back home, bred the cows, organized my chests, and added a bell to my barn. And that's how I wrapped up day 34. I started day 36 by breeding my animals. Then, I harvested all the sugarcane. It was finally time to craft the enchantment table and bookshelves. I crafted as many bookshelves as I could. Now, for the enchanting area. I chose a corner, dug it out, and placed the bookshelves. Because of a small calculation error, it looked a bit weird at first, so I jumped in and fixed it. Of course, this level wasn't enough. We needed leather. But first, let's craft that enchantment table. I added some stone flooring to make the area look more aesthetic. Then, I bred the animals once more. Right then, something very strange happened. A zombie with pure white eyes showed up at my door. Luckily, it wasn't a special mob, just a regular one. I took him down and went to bed. When morning came, I had to, well, kill the adult cows for leather. I went out and gathered as much as I could. Back home, I finished all the bookshelves. And yes, we finally have a level 30 enchantment table. I put the food in the furnace and started organizing the enchanting area. When night fell, I hunted a bunch of mobs to reach level 30. I did this until sunrise and put the first enchantment on my pickaxe. After that, I found another ruined portal and gathered obsidian. I really wanted to go to the Nether. So, I spent another night hunting mobs for level 30 XP. Once I had enough, I enchanted all my gear until I ran out of XP. I used the last section of the house for the Nether portal. I decorated it nicely, placed the obsidian, and activated the portal. I was ready for the Nether adventure. On day 40, I stepped into the Nether. The biome was pretty bad, so I didn't want to explore too much yet. I headed back to the overworld. One thing we're missing is farms. Now, we're going to build some aesthetic, natural-looking farms. First, I cleared the area. And started laying them out. I surrounded the farm with stone variants and divided it into sections. I added a path and some finishing touches. These small details are so important for your builds. I love the natural look. You should definitely try it in your own worlds. Once I was done, I covered the water with slabs and placed some lanterns. Then, I planted all the seeds I had. Oh, by the way, I made a special section for sugarcane too. Finally, I added flowers and berries to make the surroundings even more beautiful. It turned out great. I hope you guys like it. Now, let's organize the inventory and get some sleep. Day 44. It's time to fully explore the Nether. After breeding the animals one last time, I stepped through the portal. While wandering through a soul sand valley, I found a Nether fortress. I built a bridge and headed inside. I hunted a lot of mobs in there. I'll keep this part short because, you know, it was just regular combat. Finally, I found a blaze spawner and gathered some blaze rods. After I was done, I found a piglin, dropped all my gold, and started bartering. These are the items I got. Pretty good. We could even go kill the dragon now, but that's for later. Let's head back home. Welcome back! In this episode, we're going to build some huge projects. But before that, there's something I need to add to my house. So let's grab this tree first. Alright, now we'll plant it and wait for it to grow. Yeah, right. Like that's gonna happen. Let me go grab some bone meal. Much better. Now let's break the wood and wait for a sapling to drop. The reason I'm doing this is to build a beautiful, custom tree right on top of my cave house. I repeated this until I got the exact amount of leaves I wanted, and once I was done, I got a solid night's sleep. Okay, there are a few more materials I need. Let me sort that out. Let's go. First, I need to flatten the area a bit. Alright, now we can start. I'm making a wood pile like this, going up 2 blocks from the middle, and placing a stair right on top. Perfect. Now, let's give it that root look. Alright, time to add the leaves. And hey, while I'm adding these leaves, you could hit that subscribe button, right bro? Look, I saw you didn't subscribe. Do it right now, and hey, drop a like and a comment while you're at it. Anyway, I placed the leaves randomly, and my tree is officially finished. The cave house and the tree. I think they make an awesome duo. What do you think, man? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Alright, let's plant these saplings back into the pots so they don't stay empty. Of course, while we were busy with the tree, our crops grew. Let's harvest these so they don't go to waste. First, the sugarcane, then the potatoes, and let's get the wheat too. I mean, what else are we gonna feed the animals with, bro? These are important things. Anyway, after harvesting my crops, I went next to the house with my best friend in this world to build a mine shaft. Oh, by the way, suggest a name for my dog in the comments. The poor little guy is still nameless. Anyway, when I started digging the hole, something very interesting happened. I mean, okay, maybe not that interesting, but my mine shaft idea totally went to trash. So, I filled up that opening and went to gather some stone instead. Let's go and gather some stone, man. I gathered a ton of stone. Just look at how much area I mined out. Anyway, let's head back now. I came home and put my stones in the chest. Since we're going to need different materials for the farm, I had to go down into the mines. I gathered some iron and coal. And of course, hunted a few mobs. Alright, let's go home now. That's enough mining adventure for today.
Alright, now we can finally start building the mob farm. Let me grab the items from the chest first.
Okay, now let's head to the construction site. First, I need to tidy up the area a bit. I'll set up a crafting table and dump some items into the chest. Man, my inventory is literally overflowing, and I've still got more materials back at the house. Anyway, I headed back home, grabbed the remaining supplies, and returned to the farm area. Okay, now we can officially start the build. First, I'm digging out 4 blocks, then I'll place the chests and connect the hoppers on top of them. Alright, that's enough for today. Let's go rest. Hahaha, just kidding. I just went to sleep to skip the night and got right back to work. And started on the main structure of the farm. First, I'm surrounding the hoppers with blocks, then I'm going up 21 blocks high. Once I reached the top, I placed 7 blocks out from each side. Then I surrounded the whole thing with blocks again. Now we need to completely close off this area. Let's fill this whole space up. To maximize the efficiency of this farm, we need to light up the entire surrounding area. Let's get that done before I forget. Alright, back at the top. Time to close off the farm's perimeter. After that's done, I'm making an infinite water source, then placing the water in the corners. Now I'm placing a whole stack of trapdoors here. Okay, we're in the final stages. I'm going to make a bunch of slabs using the stone cutter and close off the roof. Let's go! Finally, we're covering the top with slabs so the mobs can't see us, and more importantly, so they only spawn inside. Before I forget, let's make sure the surrounding area is fully lit. Then I'm going to stay AFK for a bit and test the farm's efficiency. Let's see how this farm performs.
Alright, this is the yield after staying AFK for 2 days.
Not bad at all if you ask me. Anyway, I want to get into beekeeping now. So, let's head back to the base and then head out on an expedition to find some bees. Wait, our crops are fully grown again. Let me harvest these real quick. Okay, I made another pickaxe, and now, let's try to get some enchantments, bro. Maybe we'll get lucky with a good enchant and I can combine the pickaxes. Ooh, yes, that's what I'm talking about. We have a perfect pickaxe now. Let's combine these. Oh man, finally. We'll sort out the other tools slowly over time. After that, I did a quick inventory cleanup and bred my animals to increase their numbers. Then, I crafted a campfire and set off on my journey to find some bees. Oh look, pumpkins! Let's grab these, they might come in handy. I should probably pick some flowers too. You never know when you'll need them, right? I'm looking around, but I don't see anything yet. Let's keep moving, guys. After traveling a bit further, aha, yes, we found them, baby. Let me craft a boat real quick. There we go. Let's head out. I planted some flowers here so they can start making honey. I'll collect the honey, craft some hives, and then we're kidnapping those bees. Anyway, after spending some time there, I found another hive in a cherry blossom biome. I hung out there for quite a while and gathered a ton of honey. Alright, time to head home. Once we're back, I'm going to build an awesome bee farm. Wait, what? What are you doing here, you creep? Anyway, let's craft those beehives. First, let's set up the paths. And I'll place the hives right here. This spot looks great. I'll plant flowers all around so the bees can produce honey. Finally, I'm crafting a few more materials and moving on to the actual build of the bee farm. Okay, yeah, it'll do for now. I think it turned out pretty good. Alright, it's finally time to go and slay the dragon. But before we do that, there are a few things we need to take care of. First, I grabbed all my crops from the barrel. We're gonna sell these. Then, I collected the honey. Okay, I found the village. Perfect. This guy is buying potatoes. Let's sell them all. Let's sell the carrots too. Alright, we're done in this village. Moving on to the next one. Okay, I'm here. Oh, look. Let's grab this coal. Man, I really wish they would fix the villager mechanics in Bedrock Edition. I swear, I spent an hour trying to find a villager who buys wheat. But finally, I found one. So, I sold all the wheat to him as well. Before heading to the end, I'm planning to turn our base into a proper village. I'm going to build a few houses and bring some villagers over here. So we need to gather materials. I threw the stones into the furnace, grabbed the spruce saplings from the chest, and started grinding for wood. Then I gathered some flowers. I'll be using those to breed the bees. Just doing my classic village chores here. Alright, let's craft those Eyes of Ender, baby. Ooh, yes. Now, before heading to the end, I'm starting to enchant my gear. Let's craft the firework rockets too. We're gonna need them once we get that elytra. Oh man, finally, the preparations are complete. We are officially ready to set off on our adventure. Let's go. Alright, throwing the first eye. And it's going this way. See you at the stronghold then. Hoop, hello there. Let's place the eyes. Yes, the battle is starting, bro. Let's go. Okay, we're here. First, let's blow up the crystals. Wait, slaying the dragon in Bedrock is actually so easy. Look at this, I'm literally shredding it. It's so good. And finally, I've managed to kill the dragon. Let's hunt one of these guys for an ender pearl. Okay, now we can go find an end city. Let's go! I went through the portal and yes! I found an end city with a ship. I killed a few more endermen to gather pearls, and then I took out the shulkers in my way. Dragon head. Poop! Hello, darling, and yes! We finally have an elytra. Let's test this out. By the way, this is my first time getting an elytra in Bedrock. Now, let's head back home and finish our remaining tasks. We still need to enchant our elytra with unbreaking and mending. And we're home. Let's get some sleep. Alright, I've got 55 levels, so it's the perfect time to enchant my gear. After enchanting, I harvested my crops, and look, we have a new friend! We can fly around with our happy ghast now. Anyway, after spending some time with our new buddy, I started gathering the rest of my crops. Then, I found a donkey and loaded all the goods onto him. We're heading out to sell these to the villagers to earn some emeralds. After that, we'll buy the enchantment books we need. But first, I need to make the sails and then build some houses for the villagers. Let's go! When I got to the village, I couldn't find a suitable villager to trade with, so I headed back home. I started thinking about my happy ghast again, so I put on my elytra and flew to the snowy biome. I gathered some snow there and headed back. Once I was home, I crafted a ghast saddle, hopped on, and went for a little ride. Anyway, for the villager houses, we're gonna need some calcite and other materials, so I went out to gather them. I managed to collect a ton of blocks. Then, I came home and went into sleep mode. Next up, gathering some moss. Let's get that out of the way too. Alright, now that I've sorted out the necessary items, I'm moving on to the house plans. First, let's lay down the paths. Once the paths were finished, I started the foundation of the first house using stone bricks. After finishing the foundation for the second house, I started adding mossy stone blocks. You guys know me, I love mixing blocks in my builds. It just makes everything look so much better. Anyway, I finished the main structure of the houses. I used calcite, spruce logs, stairs, slabs, and trapdoors for the details. So, this is how it looks for now. Next up, the roofs. But first, let's get some sleep. Alright, now that I'm awake, I'm working on the roofs and adding a bunch of details to make the houses look more aesthetic. I'm keeping this part brief because there isn't much to explain. Okay, the basic look of the houses is done. Now let's decorate the paths and the surroundings. And for the love of God, let's organize this inventory. Everything else is finished anyway. After tidying up my entire inventory, I moved on to fixing the interior of the enchanting area. Then, I crafted some lanterns to light up the villager houses and the area around them. Alright, now we can finally start bringing our villager friends over. First, let's craft a boat. Now, where were my leads? Aha, here they are. Get down here, man. The followers and I are waiting for you. Let's go. Anyway, after attaching the boat, I headed to the village and, well, let's just say I kidnapped some villagers. Yes, we finally have a villager. Now, I'm going to use the place and break tactic with the lectern to try and get a mending book. Finally! Yes! It costs 24 emeralds? Fine, I'm coming right back with them. And boom, we got the first book. Next up is Unbreaking. I'll keep this short. I brought the villager over, did the same tactic, and got the Unbreaking enchantment too. Then I went ahead and upgraded my entire set and all my gear. And finally, I slapped all those enchantments onto my elytra. Yes! Now we can fly forever. This is absolutely perfect. Of course, once all that was done, I finished up some classic busy work around my village and called it a day.
We are so close to completing the 100 days. For this final stretch, I'm going to build a baker's house, and on top of that, we're going to expand our farms even more. I'm starting by throwing some stones into the furnaces, then I'm flying off to a cave to gather some granite. I'm also collecting some clay to make bricks, and after that, I'll grab some spruce and oak logs. The materials are almost ready. While the stones and bricks are smelting, I'll start prepping the area where I'm going to build. Alright, all the materials are set. Let's go finish this build. I finished the house pretty quickly. Well, the build actually took a while, but I'm fast forwarding it for you guys. For the materials, I basically used bricks, stone, granite, and spruce logs. You can use these as a base if you want to build this house yourself. And finally, the house is finished. I think it looks amazing. I won't do the interior right now. We'll save that for last, or maybe for the next episode. Man, it looks good. Without wasting any time, let's move on to the farms. I'm building them the same way we did in the first episode. If you haven't watched that part yet, I highly recommend checking it out from the link in the description. Finally, I'm adding the finishing touches and planting the seeds. Once the farms were done, I decorated the surroundings. This place is going to be overflowing with builds soon. Alright, everything is finished. Let's take a flight and see the view. Man, this looks incredible. We completed the 100 days in the best way possible. If you're curious about what's going to happen on day 200, you definitely need to subscribe. Anyway, like I said, if you haven't seen the first episode, make sure to watch it. You'll pick up some great building lessons there. It's on the screen right now. Just click it. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.